On today's episode of the Apex, the podcast, the boys talk to Zachmazer, who is now on Team BBB. We talked to him about his time with Cloud9, moving into the brand new team, and how he plans to take on Split number 2. The boys also go through their top 5 predictions going into Split 2 and all the teams that we think that you should be looking out for, as well as some of the roster movements. There's lots of roster movements going into this next season, so there are some teams you want to keep an eye out for. And then on the other side of the show, Finn gives like a quick little preview on the other regions of ALGS, and then we round out the show with the heart-to-heart. So ladies and gents, without further ado, let's get into the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. The boys are here. We are a week away from Split 2 Pro League, and we are so excited to get into this season preview. We're going to go through all of our teams, the teams that we think are going to be within the top 5, as well as a dark horse candidate, and maybe a team we think might not do as well, might take a step back, depending on the climate heading into Split 2. But we're going to have plenty of teams out there to discuss, to talk about, as well as talking about some of the movement between different players on some of those teams, some of the teams you might have forgotten about, some of the moves you might have forgotten about. So we will get into all that. But before we do that, let's talk to the boys and check in. Finn, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Legitimately an hour ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, I got my little puppy. It is officially going to be called Georgia Wave Cox.
Nice.
And I'm pretty stoked about that. And yeah, she's asleep and she's behind me, and I don't want to wake her up because I don't want her to pee everywhere right now. So not this podcast, but maybe next podcast, if you're watching the video form, you'll be able to see what she looks like. Or just go check out my Twitter because I'll probably post 1,000 pictures. But
there we go.
My week's been good. Can't complain. It's been a little rainy, but not bad. Pretty good weather for the most part, and yeah, just can't complain. It's a good week. What about you?
I've had a good week. Things have been going well. Been getting a lot of stuff done, and I had a play for my congregation. And so I was Mordecai in our Purim play, which like goes over the story of Esther, and it was fun. It was good. Felt loose. Like it was nice. Mixing it up, doing something different. And yeah, now that I don't have that going on, I got a lot more. I got like another 4 hours in my week that I can have to like work on other stuff. And so I'm excited to just shifting that attention. And the weather is getting significantly nicer around Tennessee because I'm not going to lie. Typically, like I did not realize, like when I didn't want to be outside as much, I didn't realize how like cold it was, or I don't know, because like I remember like last winter being like, oh yeah, Tennessee's winters, they're not bad at all, and compared to Indiana, they're like nothing. But this year I wanted to be outside way more, and so I noticed it wasn't as nice as I would like it to be, but like ideally, like we're talking like sunny, the works, you know, and it's getting back to that, so I'm planning on doing a lot more hiking, and so I'm excited. But yeah, no, like when I was like hardcore just grinding, I didn't realize it nearly as much as I do now that I'm like, I want to be more than just sitting in my room.
We have any Oscar nominations coming your way? What do we think? How are we feeling about the Oscars this year?
Isn't that the Tonys? Wouldn't that be the Tonys because it's a play?
I don't know, dude. I
could be an EGOTer. I could just go for them all.
There we go. Just get them all. Just line them on up. Was it how'd you feel like acting and stuff?
Oh yeah, it was nice. It was, I mean, I've done like acting in the past, like with like throughout school and stuff, like not too crazy, but like a few classes here and there, and then in college, and it was fun. I was super dope. I only had like 6 lines and they weren't too crazy, but I like it was like a big role, even though I didn't say like a lot, and so it was kind of like the best of both worlds. It was really funny because like typically when you go out at the end of a play, they line it up by like importance to like the story and like the contribution to the play overall, and like they typically have worked more. And I went like the guy that I went out with had like, I had 6 lines, he probably had like 40, and we were like the second to last people going out, and so I got like a lot of juice for like minimal. Like I had my lines down pat after like the first time, and so I was just it was cruising. It was fun.
But your
I had
was
an
what,
impact. You know.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's all about that impact.
There we go. Easy.
Why? What about your week?
My week's been good. Just playing some Apex with the boys, having a good time with that. And I gotta say, the Hal episode took a lot out of me. And shout out our guy Connor behind the scenes. We were doing a lot trying to make sure that everything was good with that episode, and finally getting it out, hearing everybody's responses, seeing everybody's like just overall like happiness with how the interview went was really really cool. So now I'm kind of like recovering from that. I took like a good few days off away from the computer doing any editing stuff and just kind of focused on just relaxing. So that's pretty much what I did the whole weekend. I'm going to be honest, I haven't been able to golf in like 3-4 weeks now because it's been so rainy where I'm at. But I think this upcoming weekend it's going to be sunny again. I'm definitely going to go out in the course. I'm going to have a good time. So I can't wait for that. But that's my week. Pretty much just hanging, doing all that, ready to get into all of this pro league stuff. And I'm so excited. We've got some great stuff. We got drama already unfolding. We got teams already hating each other. What more could you ask for? What more could you want? So, boys, let's get into it. What are you gonna say?
Before we get into it, I just thought about this. It feels like just yesterday we just got done with the LAN. Like,
I know.
So now we're going into Pro League. It's just like, man, this happened so quickly. I know it may not have, but I guess in my head I thought, wow, we just got done with LAN not that long ago. Which, that was probably over a month ago now. But
no, it was
yeah,
a blur. It was a blur,
yeah,
100%. Just for everything that took place then, and then that's the cool part about having like what I believe to be a self-sustainable esport is it's taking away and kind of following the same line as the sports that we know and love already. Because it's like football season ends, and then right after that, you're getting into getting ready for like free agency and the draft. You get all the news from there. You get Aaron Rodgers going into his midnight retreat.
Psycho, dude.
Yeah,
Psycho.
you have all these stories now. Lamar Jackson stories, like we're getting the same type of thing in ALGS with different teams, and it doesn't have the same big draw that it does that we would like it to have yet. But the way that it's playing out right now, I mean, it's playing out like a regular league, and that's why it probably felt like we didn't have much time off, because before you know it, it's going to be off-season training. It's going to be training camp for NFL, and we're going to be right back into football. Same thing happened here. So, it really didn't feel like that much time because we had so much cool, interesting news and like all the different stuff for ALGS. So, boys, let's get into it here. We've got a lot to talk about. I think before we get into our picks and how we're feeling, we should probably talk teams and adjustments to teams that people may have forgotten about. And then we'll go into some of the scrims that we had go on today, because we're going to talk about those scrims in our interview with Zach later on in the show, because he talks about some of the drama involving all that. But let's start off with some teams here that have definitely changed throughout the time. Finn, some major team shakeups that people might have forgotten about. Let's fill people in on some of those.
Yeah, we may have already done a few of these teams. So if you hear it again, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, we're already doing that. Well, some people may not know. So this is just kind of like a good way for us to kind of get a refresher going into it. My first thought is, okay, complexity is going to be completely different. I think complexity is going to officially be Monsoon and Cody and Luda, and then having Shiny or Muffins as coach. Not 100% sure. I think it's going to be Muffins actually, with coaching. And then let's see, since SSG is no longer a thing anymore, Frex is going to be joining Phony Snipe Down as new phase roster. Zenile on that team is going to be going to Oxygen. That's what it seems like so far. So instead of Crook got dropped. So it's going to be Hill, Enemy, and now Zenile. Let's see here. we obviously had know about Duplex being dropped for Optic, and well, maybe not dropped. He's just not on the main roster and going to be dropped. And so dropped is on that Optic roster. We've known that for quite a bit of time. And then now with Pow Pow, we talked about it last week, being going to move into the like coaching or like analytic role for them. Now
Advisory.
Lux advisory, yeah. Luxford's going to be jumping in with Madness and Shuby, so that team's another
I think that
pretty
team's
solid
scary.
team to look at.
I think Luxford
Yeah,
and
they're-
Shuby, and with Madness being able to play with like those are two like phenomenal controller players. I think Lux mechanically is up there. Like I've been super impressed with his development over like the past like year or so. I feel like he's just gotten dramatically better than where he used to be, and I think he was like the perfect pickup for that roster. And I'm excited. Like I think that is a team that has really strong potential to do really well.
And then actually just recently, Yubbin said that he's going to be subbed out and going to be replaced with Funk. Let's see, Lan, of course, which is Naughty, Lou, and Albert Lely, that team together. And then we got Triple B, aka Design Chaotic, and Zach's part of the BBB squad that we're having on. And then thinking EU, one of the bigger ones being Zane has moved to KCP officially. Max Strafe is no longer going to be playing on the active roster, but still a part of the KCP.
This is one we definitely covered for
organization. Sure. Yeah, we probably did.
I recall,
that one.
I recall you criticizing my top 3 pick.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
I talked to Nasty about it.
Yeah.
He thinks you're smoking crack if you don't think they're top 3.
He said he's never coming on this show.
Well, I hope we get him on next week. Actually,
I read with him the other day.
That would be great.
It was a good time talking. And I can we'll get him on.
So
we'll get him on.
Yeah, we'll get him
DM
on.
him
I
right
think
now.
We'll bring him back.
Hopefully, yeah. And then another EU thing that I think, obviously, with the Zane move, then Nags is no longer going to be part of J-Links, and that means VJ is no longer going to be a part of J-Links. So, I think Nags actually might be part of J-Links, but he's getting another roster around him. So VJ is no longer on a pro league team. So that J-Links team that you saw at LAN that was popping off is like just disbanded now. So, whenever we talked about them, we were like, okay, yeah, they're going to make some noise going into Split 2, a pro league for EMEA. And doesn't look like they're going to be a team anymore. So that's all I can think of right now. I'm sure there's going to be more substitutions and stuff like that happen throughout the pro league, and we'll keep you updated with those. But yeah, that's just kind of like the little bit of roster news and like free agency stuff that has gone on for quite a bit of time. Ever since the LAN stopped and then leading up to these pro leagues. So those are the bigger ones that I can think of. If you guys, if we missed one, make sure you tell us so that we can update it in the next roster announcements and stuff.
There we go. So lots of new switches, lots of new changes. I think another thing we've noticed here is a lot of these teams have the coach tab on their roster here. So it looks like a lot more teams are going to be trying to utilize either a coach, aka an analyst. Now, once again, we've talked about it before. People have been trying to do this in the past, and on a lot of interviews, people are just saying there's not the coaching talent or analyst talent quite yet, but you never know what could happen. You trial some of these guys out, they could get a lot better, and you could see how they help out a team. One of my guys, SWL, he's joining Team Glitch. Shout out SWL, shout out Jack. He's been with me he's been like a day one for me. So to see him playing with Glitch, I believe he's going to be an analyst. Let's see how they do. Let's see how they fare. I'm going to be behind him 100%. So lots of different things going on, not just within the players themselves, but also roster changes with coaching and with analysts. So awesome. Very cool. Boys, there was some news today within these scrims. We had a lot of shit talking. We had a lot of contests with a lot of big names, and it was really interesting to watch. And I think if you can get people to draw their eyes to basically like a preseason match, you got a good league going. And that's what we had here today. I believe Hal had over 20,000, not to mention all the other streamers and pros who had their streams going during the scrims. And in between the lobbies, there was a lot of shit talking going around. It was it was fun to watch. I think most notably, we should probably talk about the TSM BBB contest, where that's gonna a lot of that's gonna be talk like the drama stuff. We'll leave that to
Zach.
the interview with Zach, because it's there. Also, if you want to figure out what BBB means, you're going to hear that first question of the interview. So make sure you tune into that. But let's get into that contest here really quick. How'd you guys feel about those two teams squaring off?
Well, it was a little. Besides one game, it was pretty not a contest really. Like it was. So the first game, I believe, Zach's team, like they got a lot of loot, but I guess they didn't feel comfortable fighting that first game, and so they left and just ran through wall, like bottom wall, if that makes sense, and like go towards the grav cannon. And then the game 2 is whenever they actually fought. And for those that don't know, they're fighting over wall on Storm Point. So if you play that map, you know that if there's two teams that land there, that is like a crazy contest spot. So it's why it's very entertaining to watch two very talented, strong fighting teams go against each other. But yeah, the first game, nothing really happened. They did fight, but it was like not at wall. And then game 2, they did actually fight, and BBB won the contest, like straight up. It was a straight up contest, and they won it. And then the third game, they didn't really. It was kind of a similar situation. They didn't fight. They just ran away. BBB did. So I don't know how TSM feels about that. I'm sure they're very frustrated. I know Enoch mentioned that he heard reps say during their last game that he thinks that they probably stream sniped, and it's like now we're gonna get into he said she said type of stuff. But you got it. I'm gonna say right now it is 1-0 BBB when it comes to the scrims tonight between TSM and BBB.
No, I just wanted to check something. No, because Zach when he was streaming, he was playing a little bit of what's the new game called? The Final. Yeah, so he was streaming a little bit of that, and he said his title was like, done stream sniping TSM, like gonna chill and like hang out. So like he's definitely like, I definitely think the word got back to them. The reps was saying stuff, and they're kind of like making fun of it. So I would really hope that wouldn't happen, but at the end of the day, you never know, and people are gonna do whatever they're gonna do.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. What do you think? Like, who do you think leaves the wall first?
With the way that BBB is positioning themselves in these fights, it really seems that they're landing in a position where they have the ability to run down that wall if they're not confident in their loot. So it really seems that each time they're going to be able to just make a quick analyzation of, okay, like, are we comfortable with fighting? Do we have did we get 2 blues? Do we have a perp? Do we have a gun with a sight? Do we have a charge? Do we have like a wingman? Like, are we comfortable? Are we confident? Like, do we realize that we're going to win this? Or are we on triple gray and we're rocking Mozambique P20? And so if they do have if they land and they're not confident, they have the easy slide down, and then they just griefing TSM's loot. And I think they get the better end of that split. And so I think that TSM will be the one who ends up leaving, even though I know that Zach said he doesn't think that's going to happen. But if worst case scenario for BBB is there a thorn in TSM's side, and TSM is going to have the expectation of they're coming off of a LAN. They need to be successful. They need to have a good split. And if BBB is going to be able to just grief them on BBB's worst games, is they're just still griefing TSM, I just think TSM walks away more negative, and they'll be able to find a spot. Because there's not many teams that are going to be able to successfully contest TSM, and TSM knows that. And so if BBB isn't even necessarily able to win outright, if they're able to do what they did today and just be annoying as shit, then they're eventually going to leave. Because, like, Hal is just going to get so twisted and irritated. Ravens is going to, I mean, like, the whole team is going to get mad because they're losing every single time. Even if they don't lose, they lose.
And I think to add to that, and then Wyatt, I would love to hear your opinion. Just to add on to that, I think BBB's playstyle also benefits more by having more scuffed loot than TSM does. Like they're more comfortable playing on edge with worse
because they're going to get kitted. They're going to take two fights, shit on teams, and then walk out, and they're going to walk into like late. But yeah, no, I definitely think that's a really good point.
Wyatt, I'd love to hear what you got because
I
got some.
I 100% agree with Enoch. It just comes down to the fact that for BBB, you look at the way that they're going to fight this. If they don't feel comfortable, they're always just going to be able to have that rotate. The only way TSM could make them want to leave is if they chow them every time and win, which with the talent on the other side isn't going to be easy, or if they cut them off when they try to leave early. And I don't think they're going to do that because they're going to be trying to get their own game under control. So for BBB, you look at their side of it, and it's like every single time we land there, I think at one point and after the first one, it was like they basically, I think Zach was typing in the chat and saying we basically got like 70% of the POI. You guys got like that bottom portion or the top portion. We had the entire bottom, and yeah, you guys got Crafter, but we had like a bunch of buildings to be able to loot from. If they're going to be able to have that every time, and even if they, by the off chance, don't get a good set of loot, they can just leave, then I don't see how you lose. Like, you have basically two options. A lot of times when people are contesting, it's like the only option is to kill that other team. They have two where it's like we can take the number one team out of the lobby by killing them if we get good enough loot and we push them fast enough, or if we don't feel comfortable, we just walk out. So I don't think BBB will be looking to leave unless something drastic happens. Like if TSM creates a strategy where they're trying to cancel out their rotate or something like that. That's really the only way I see them going. But I mean, this is a great spot for BBB, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Zach gets into that, and it was such a perfect time. We were saying it off air, but it's such a perfect time to have Zach on to be able to talk about this. So we're excited for y'all to be able to listen to that interview. Another thing that somebody on Reddit I saw like commented and said something that I think is actually pretty good. That a lot of these teams, a lot of the top teams, are not used to their spot being contested. Like a lot of time, I mean, for a long time, like Frag East was never touched because it was TSM. No one would ever win against TSM. Well, there was a moment whenever Protectful, Skittle Cakes before he was on Optic, and Zainu were on a team, and they contested Frag East, and like in some games took out like TSM. They didn't end up taking the spot. Obviously, they got destroyed majority of the time, but they kind of like were able to show like, hey, this guy bleeds, right? Like TSM bleeds, even though they were impenetrable, right? And so it's seeing like a team like BBB. We know Chaotic. We know what he does with an R3. Like we know how good his shot is. We know design. We know Zach's IGLing skills, right? Like it is going to be very interesting to see because it's not like this team's not. I mean, like Thermal, they had to contest Thermal for so long. Remember, like G2 did. So Tyler is so used to it. Chaotic, whenever they were going against Furia at Thermal, like Chaotic clutched up 1v3ing. Like this team can contest, and so some teams are better at contesting than others. And so, I mean, unfortunately for TSM, this happens to be a team that I think can maybe go toe to toe. But I don't know. I mean, but I also think TSM can go toe to toe with them. So I don't know. My gut feeling says 60% TSM, 40% BBB. But man, this is definitely not the end of all of the drama that's fixing to happen because there's still going to be more.
Loved how you worked in fix in there. That was beautiful. And quick correction: it was not Zainu, it was Noah that was on the Skittle
Noah. That's it. My bad.
I think wasn't there? Okay, this is crazy because Zach is on this episode. On that same contest where they were going after TSM, wasn't there a time where Zach came out of nowhere by himself when they were about to beat TSM?
And it wasn't by himself, but yeah, he literally
finished off that team.
Zach's team which was Naughty and Noct at the time, I believe. They literally pulled up, third partied, and then TSM ended up getting a full reset and their team lost. And like Protectful was like actually just losing his mind. The fact that like, because like it didn't look and scream collusion, but let's just say that man Mazer was were the TSM fanboys' fourth favorite player in the game.
Yeah. I remember Twitter that day. Twitter that day was like they were all over Zachmazer. They were like he's the next guy in TSM. I remember that day because that other team was so pissed off, and watching like going to their streams after that situation happened was pure comedy. Yeah, that was awesome. So crazy how that worked out. Having him on the show this week. Okay, some other contests. I know that Tripods was contesting the guard, I believe, Finn.
I'm on mute. So yes, I believe the guard and FaZe are fighting Tripods at Overlook, which is crazy. So tonight they fought the guard. I think on Sunday they fought FaZe, and it looks like the Tripods are actually like winning most of theirs. Besides on Stormpoint, they lost to Complexity on C Note 2-1. But they did beat FaZe on Sunday, and I believe they beat the guard for Overlook. So their World's Edge looking A-OK going into Pro League, but I don't know specifically on what it looks like for Stormpoint if they're going to continue to keep going there with Complexity beating them this evening in scrims. This is a Tuesday, by the way, that we're saying all this. But yeah, that dude Deeds is a little bit diffy, bro. That guy is good at the game.
Yeah, he's pretty cracked. I've been seeing some of his clips recently of like he was playing with Wig and Nick Merckx, and there was one game where he literally had back-to-back 1v3s, and it was actually just you're just like ew. And like Deeds was not doing that like 6 months ago. And he's had an extreme title, Road to S tier. And so I think when those roller rankings came out, and I think he was put like in B tier, he really took it to heart, and he's been on that passionate journey to S tier consistently. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that we could see it sooner than I certainly thought we would. But you know, you love to see it. The kid's just getting better each and every day, and like he's just a young kid. He's only going to get better. He's far from like the best that we're going to see him, and it's going to be cool to get to like watch someone's career from the beginning and seeing how good he's going to end up being.
There we go. So those are some of the contests from scrims. I'd like to throw out any other quick notes you guys have as well. I'm going to throw a quick one out here. I was watching Naughty, and that team looks good. We got Lou IGLing with Naughty and Albrelelli. Team looked pretty solid. I like they had an interesting like way that they were doing their calls, and Finn has talked about this in the past where it's like Albrelelli will sometimes throw in like input not as a non-IGL, and I was surprised the way he was doing it. It wasn't in a way that you would think would be counterintuitive to the team. It was more like if a call was super confusing to both guys like Naughty and Alb, it would be like almost a correction. And I think that it was really helpful to Lou because sometimes like when you're in that moment, that high intensity moment, the call makes sense to you, but it may not make sense to your teammates. And so they were kind of going through and like ironing some stuff out, but they had a really solid day. Team looked really good. They had some good positioning, and they were taking smart and solid fights all the way through. And Naughty was looking for that comeback. He was a free agent for a long time. Looks like he might have shacked up with the right guys to help him get deep into this second split. You guys have any other side notes before we get into the top fives? Anything? No, just anything from. I don't know if you tuned into like all the scrims, but did you have any notes that just came to mind just from watching them?
Not. I mean, my biggest thing is like I'm big, like it kind of like this is kind of like leads into like the top 5 thing that we've been discussing, but like I know that it's like a hot take, but I like legitimately think that BBB is going to be like a top 5 team in Pro League. And I know that Finn might think that that's an egregious take. That's because he didn't like my nasty take. But I think that
True.
like this is a team that we're just seeing like they're getting all their kinks out of the way. They're learning as like fast as possible. It's their first time playing together, but they like do have experience at the same time. But like as a team, this is their first time. And I think that we could see them have an absolute just incredibly successful Pro League split. I think they're by far one of the best fighting teams, and they've always been that. But now that they have Zach to be their IGL, he's really going to help get them into the spots that they need to be. And I just think the overall play style, I think that with kind of like the meta being 2 controller players and 1 MK, I think their play style benefits that to the max. And so I'm excited to see what this team ends up doing. And they're definitely in my top 5. And for that was something that stood out to me from scrims that I've been watching recently.
Yeah, and we talked about it with Zach a little bit more in the interview. When you guys get to that, you'll hear it. But Enoch asked about the charge rifle. And in the one time that TSM and BBB fought, who had the charge rifle and who won the fight?
Zach.
That's right.
Zach.
That's right.
Dude, and
leading into
the
it.
design rocks it too. And so like they'll literally just play double charge rifle, and then on Storm Point with all of the open spaces, there'll literally be times where they're in zone and then like they're watching teams come in, and it literally like they're playing duck hunt. And they're literally just watching these guys rotating in who are fighting on the edge of zone, and they're just picking up free KP, two charge rifles. And then whenever they're taking fights up close, you got Chaotic with a 9. Design's probably got a 9, more than likely. And then you got Mazer on a Prowler. It's just like I just don't see many teams being able to compete with this team in 3v3s. And I think Mazer's going to be able to put them in the right spots. They're like maxed out. And it's going to be a fun split to watch that team. They're definitely going to be a team that I'm going to be keeping my eye on for sure.
When you said charge rifle, you know what I instantly thought of? Something that we haven't talked about that is now peeking its head into meta. And I think it was Watson, your boy E, that actually is starting this trend. But the Rampage is on a tear right now. Have you seen this?
In scrims?
In Pro League? Dude, I'm not kidding. A lot of MNK players are rocking the Rampage so that whenever they're like, I'm seeing a lot more of it on Storm Point than I am seeing World's Edge, but the Rampage right now is like kind of going up in the use. It's taking like the place of like just like an AR. They're just using it instead so that whenever they can, like they're basically abusing the mechanic of breaking down a door. Which a lot of people really didn't use that much unless you've seen it, Eve, but like it's not really used that much. But I think it's a mechanic and tactic that a lot of people haven't utilized as much as maybe it could have been, and so we're seeing that a little bit more, and it's catching teams off guard, and they're insta dying if they're holding the door because somebody's got a rampage. They just roll them.
Yeah, so. I hadn't seen more and more people use it. But I mean, I've only been watching a few teams throughout these scrims, and I definitely like Watson. From my experience with him, he was the only guy I've ever played with who would pick it up when it was in the care package. Like literally the only guy who would pick up the Rampage when it was in the care package. And then I was playing with Reptar today, who was talking about how he thought that the Rampage as a floor loot weapon was just being incredibly slept on. Because just how strong a mechanic, the ability that you have a floor loot gun that can shoot through that can shoot through a door and catch somebody off guard, and you're hitting them for like, if they're sitting on that, you're like guaranteed hitting for at least 100, and their door's gone. And it's just such a strong mechanic, and I can definitely see Watson being the one to be leading this charge, as he has been a Rampage enjoyer for some time. And yeah, especially like in comp. If all your teammates know that you're looking for thermites, you're going to be walking around. You should be having at least 3 a game, and I just think that it's just it's free licks, as some would say. And I'm not excited if it becomes meta, and you shouldn't be either. You listening at home, a Rampage meta is just not what you want to see. But Watson has been known to ruin the game. He did it with Seer.
And create
He did it with Seer.
Yeah,
And now he might be doing it with the
starts the party.
Rampage. And so if 4 months from now it's just Rampage Legends, we know who to blame.
Yep. We can pin that on him as well. Okay. All right. Enough of all the scrims and stuff heading into the second split. Let's get into these teams here. What's up, Finn?
Okay, one thing, just saw on Twitter, as of 4 hours ago, HisWattson got banned.
I saw that earlier, but he was playing though. So wasn't he? Wasn't he playing in scrims?
I don't know. They didn't scrim.
No,
tonight.
they didn't play today. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll keep an eye out on that. But yeah, that's as of 4 hours ago. He said, I don't really know what happened. And then it's just like a thing of your account has been disabled due to violation of EA terms of service.
That'd be so funny if he made a new account. Because remember in our interview, he said that he made the name HisWattson because it was like HisWattson, her Gibby. That'd be funny if he just came back as her Gibby and just changed his name up that way.
See, I can't tell if it's like a legit thing that happened and that it's just like a something.
Because he trolls a lot.
I could see, like, if EA has like an enemy list, HisWattson is definitely on it, and I could see them ripping
number
this.
2.
and I could also see it. I think there's a very high chance that it could just be like bait, and it could just be like a fake, like somebody else screenshotted it, and then he's just tweeting it out, leading people on to make people think that he got banned, and he's just doing it for impressions, because we do know that Watson, he doesn't just farm RP, he also is an impression farmer, and few do it like he does. And this very I think there's a decent chance that it's just bait.
Dude, okay, remember last Pro League split? He didn't play like the first 2 weeks because of a ban. So, like, this happens again? Come on. Like, that would suck. Really bad for them. Anyway,
well, it
that's just like a
say that
random
it's only
thing that I
3-day
just
ban,
saw.
so he won't miss any tournaments.
There we go. He's back.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He'll get it back by Friday, so.
It's whack if he does.
It should be good.
But we'll see what happens. More info. I'm sure we'll know. I'm sure there'll be more info by the time that people listen to this. But
yeah, we'll get all that info. But the Pro League is better with Watson in it, at least in my humble opinion. Boys, let's get into our top fives here now. We've gotten through all the work. We've gotten through all the talk. Let's get down to it. Our picks. Now, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to put out our top 5. We're going to have our dark horse, and then we're going to have one team that may, or like in our opinion, may not perform as well based on like outside factors, whatever it may be. Just depends on the team that you're picking. But at the end, we need to have like our pick that's like, that's the team that's going to win. We already have our top 5, but we got to pick our team that's going to win. So who wants to go first? Who's willing to jump in the fire first? I'm looking at you,
Going
Finn.
first.
No, I'm looking at you. No,
Finn,
I'm
you're kind of our guy.
No, you got to go
kind of
first.
our guy.
You got to go first.
Okay, so you asked me what? Did you just ask me who I think is going to win?
So let's do it this way. Hit it with your top 5.
Okay.
Give me your dark horse and your team that you think might struggle, and then hit me at the very end with your team that you think is gonna be hoisting the trophy.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So my top 5 for this is specifically North America. Shout out to every other region that listens to this that is not North America. We will talk. I will talk a little bit about some other regions as well of who I think is going to win. But we are going to be specifically talking about North America on the pod right now for this episode. So number 1 has to be TSM. A lot of this has to do with LAN experience. I know we just talked about a contest happening, so that could actually change so much. But TSM's number 1. I got Energy number 2. I got number 3 Exet. I got number 4 LG, and then I got number 5, a kind of surprise pick for me, but I got Furia back at number 5, even though they didn't make land. But yeah, that's who I got in my top 5 North America. Is that pretty, like, that's like a very safe pick, but those are my top 5. The sleeper pick, I'm going to put MLS. I think this team just is going to do really well with Lux. I've talked very highly of Lux with it whenever he was playing with Complexity, and the teams before, he has always made whatever team he's on better. I think he has one of the best comms in North America, and I think he's going to make this team elevate as long as Madness can put them in the correct situation. So that's my dark horse. The team that I don't think is going to do very well is going to be Optic Gaming. I know that's it's. I mean, they haven't. I'm not trying to kick them while they're down, because that does kind of seem like what I'm doing. But they just. I don't know if the chemistry is really there. This team is pretty emotional. We say that about a lot of teams, but this team really is a pretty emotional team. So I would love to see Optic back on top, but I don't know right now with this roster change until they get maybe some moves. Not roster moves, but if they get some chemistry built up, then I think I could see them maybe, rebounding. But as of right now, I don't see them doing super well in the Pro League. To answer your question on who I think is going to win the whole thing, I think I'm going to put my money on Xset. I think if I was to put it on who I think is going to win Pro League Split 2, Xset, lock it in, bang, hitting that final buzzer. Like, yes, that's my final answer.
Okay, there we go. I'll go second, and then we'll finish it off with Enoch. We'll finish it off with E. I think my top 5 here, I'm going to start off. Obviously, I think you have to have TSM and NRG in there. Both rosters are stacked. Both teams are really good. They've proven that they're very good. They deserve to be in the top 5 because of their performances. Both teams exceptionally solid. I think Fury is back. I think Fury is 100% back. I think they probably would have been at LAN had Watson not been, eliminate or banned early on, because remember, they barely didn't make it into LAN. It was like very, very close, and who knows what happens if Watson's there and has a better performance that day. So I think I'm going to say Watson coming back makes a huge difference for Fury. Now he has a full like reset, getting ready for the second split. I think Fury is back. Luminosity. I love the Luminosity squad. I think they can get hot at the right time. They're probably my one pick in my top 5 that not a lot of people will probably have, but I believe in this team. I think they're a very solid team, and they've proven they can have pop-off days. And I think if you stack enough of those days together, you can easily qualify yourself into a LAN spot and really show the world what this Luminosity squad is. And then I have Xset as well. Xset is like the weirdest team because they're like the underrated superstar. It's like everybody knows it. Everybody knows that they're good, but they also just haven't had that supreme finish. They're very good at starting, and they're very good at, being consistent, but it's like, can you put together that championship team? You got to win that last fight, and you got to win that last game, and we haven't seen that quite yet. But you can't deny their skill. You can't deny how good they are. So I have Xset in there to round out my top 5. My dark horse is going to be LA and LAN, Naughty's team, with Lou and Albrelelli. I basically picked them off of just watching them today. I like the way they were doing it. And I know it's just scrims, and scrims don't play out exactly how it's going to play in the actual, events. But I do think that this team was really solid, and we kind of didn't get to see Naughty for we missed out on Naughty the whole time. So I'm excited to see what he will do back in the playoffs, getting ready for LAN. I want to see how their first few days go before I think they could have a really good start and then start to falter off near the end, or the opposite, right? Where it's like, I could definitely see this team having like a pop off few days and then fall off, or start off slow and then pop off at the end. Will that be enough to get them in, though? And that's why they're a dark horse team. We'll have to see if that's how it plays out. And then my team that I think will falter, I actually think the Guard. I think the Guard had a really good performance, and they showed what they can do. but there's a lot of like weird things happening around that team. How is that going to affect them? How is that going to like affect their mental moving forward? Will it affect it at all? Will I look like an idiot? I hope so, because I really like the guard, and having Rambo on the show was really cool. So I hope that I'm wrong about the guard, but I do think that with all the other teams surrounding them, they might be one of those teams that you look at and be like, what happened on this split? So we'll see. And that
Dang,
rounds out
Wyatt.
everything.
That dude, you actually nailed that, bro.
That's right, baby.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually think your pick is super solid on who you like. I think them and Oxygen. I think actually Oxygen's in a better spot than the guard, but those two teams were very crypto heavy, and because of the change, there's not a lot of cryptos being like used anymore, right?
Yeah.
So like that's actually a super solid pick, but yeah, we're not rooting for the guard to do bad or Oxygen to do bad, but I just think that is something to look at for split 2 because of how the changes have been. So I think you absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, I think that definitely played into it as well, because it is weird, crypto. It was like before this, crypto could always kind of be played, but now it's kind of like there's better options now, like supremely better options, I think. So how are they going to bounce back from that? We'll have to see. My winner, I would love to see just the absolute cherry on top to Sweet in his career. I would love to see him carry this one home. I'm going to say NRG. I'm going to say NRG wins it. And that rounds out my picks. Enoch, give the people what they want. The encore.
Top five. All right, so I'm going to go with XSET, TSM, NRG. Like, that's just all. I feel like all three, like, that's just not even debatable. I feel like everybody, like, you got to have those. And then I'll throw Furia. I'll throw Furia in there. And then I need one more, right? One more to round it out. And I think I'm going to go with BBB.
I knew it, dude.
I said I was gonna put him top 5, I think they could be my dark horse pick too, because I think they are like my dark horse pick and the team that I think is going to do really well. I do think that I think they're going to have a good season. I think that Lanimals is going to have a good season. LG, I definitely they deserve to be top 5 in my opinion. I think that they're going to do well. But the team that I think is going to surprise people with how good they are is going to be MLS. I think MLS is poised to have an incredibly strong season, and I would view it as like an underdog dark horse pick, because I don't think if you asked a lot of people who's your top 5, that they'd be on it. And I think that they do have like a top 5 potential team if they're able to put it together, if they're able to show up, if they're able to like lock in on those game days, that they're going to do really well. Gosh, I don't like doing the team that I think's not going to do well.
I know this is not your favorite, but just like you don't have to describe it. Just give me a team that maybe you're just like, I don't know. Maybe they just have a bad day.
And it's a team that everybody expects to do good. And then you got to be like, oh, they're probably not going to play as well as everybody thinks. Is that
not expects to? It's just I think we didn't air it, but I think last split we said, I think we collectively were kind of like Furia might have one of those like drop offs because now everybody is running their comp, and we ended up cutting it out of the show. But we were kind of ended up being right, to be honest. Like they did start off slow, they had some bad days, and that's not to say that they were a bad team. They just had, some bad days. But then at the end they came close to almost getting in there.
I can help you out.
What are you thinking? Because I thought both your
FaZe.
picks were solid, and you guys had good understanding and reasoning for both of yours.
I think you could do. I think you could do
FaZe?
FaZe.
Dude, I'm gonna.
I mean, maybe they're kind of underdog
Like,
though. In the
I
same way
definitely could
too,
see
but, like,
FaZe not having a good split, but I also could see FaZe having a really good split. Because like I'm shocked.
I know.
Like I was shocked, and like absolutely no disrespect to them, but like I did not think that they like when you put them in a contest against TSM, I would not have thought that FaZe was going to walk away with the dub on that. And so the fact that they are,
I mean, and
the fact that they didn't just dub, that they just like appears that they just like mollywopped them and literally just sent them out like scared. Like, I think that's huge on the FaZe thing, but like also the game is a lot more than just a contest. But I do think Phony's going to be able to put them in the right spots, and that like that they could be a super solid team.
dude,
I'm gonna just piggyback off
I
of
was
both
gonna
of
say-
yours. I'll just say I thought your guys's you had good reasons. Absolute nothing but love to those
you
to those fine gentlemen, and I hope that they have good seasons. But it's understandable given the situation if they were to not.
Yeah. Are you saying So your picks are the guard and
Actually, I think
also Optic.
Are
you gonna throw Oxygen in there or what?
I think guard's gonna do well. Like I think guard's gonna be able to like they just got the vibes, they got the energy. They're gonna be able to rein it in and bring it back. I'm gonna just go with your. I'm gonna piggyback off of your pick. Because like with Skittle Cake,
You're gonna say
with
Optic.
Skittle
You're just
Cakes,
gonna
and
say
not,
Optic?
because like obviously I don't think Dupe was like I like a lot of people would say that like Dupe wasn't performing as well as you had in the past, and since like the Gibby meta, but I don't think like their problem as a team is gonna get completely solved with the addition of Dropped. I think Dropped is a really good fit for them. But I don't know. I could see them not, because like there's a lot of pressure, and I think that pressure is something that like a lot of people aren't going to understand, and they're like not really going to be able to like really put into like terms how big of an impact that can have. And you can be like, oh, they don't have pressure. Like they're signed to Optic. They're signed to Optic Gaming. That is like non-debatable top 5 brands in esports for me. And these boys are coming off of a not so hot run. And like while they were just a few games away from making it in, it's not nearly like the same Optic that we had seen. And the expectation that they have on them is that they need to get back to where they were. They need to get back to being like that Optic type presence, which they certainly had. I thought they were the most deserving team that could get picked up by Optic. And I think we're seeing some of that pressure could be having an impact. But obviously, I hope nothing but good things. But I would say that it's understandable if they don't have the split that they think they're going to have, especially with having like a roster change, like entirely getting used to like a new dynamic. There's like a whole lot of things that go into that. And like I would say it's much easier for teams like Lanimals and BBB and like these other teams that are making like roster changes. Their roster changes, in my opinion, are significantly easier than this type of roster change, simply just because of that pressure that's on them. And something that not everybody's going to be able to handle.
There we go. There we go. Well, ladies and gents, that should just... Oh, your winner. Your absolute winner.
Oh, my winner. Who I think is going to win? Dude, see, again, like you guys both took like such good picks, because like I definitely think XSET has 100% potential. And then when Finn took XSET, my next thought was, okay, I'm going to go with NRG and Sweet and like pulling it out again. But then that's taken. And so I'm going to just say it.
BBB.
BBB running it down.
Let's go.
All the way to number 1, because like, why not? Why not just throw BBB out there? Like they
Yes.
truly, if they like, they got everything that it takes. They really do. And like, I'm thinking like story wise, it'll make for a really good story.
No, that is a good story. And I don't think it's as spicy of a take as saying, like, I don't know, NRG's not making it to Sunday. It's not that spicy. You know, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
not.
like,
It's not. It's not
you
that
know?
spicy. It's not that egregious or offensive.
All right. Well, ladies and gents, that should just about round out our picks here for for the second split.
North
Yeah,
America.
NA.
Finn's just silent. Just nothing to say.
Yeah.
He's that man.
He's done. He's done. With that being said, let's send it on down to our interview with current BBB member Zachmazer. It was an awesome time with Zach. We talked to him about everything from the Cloud9 days to the brand new team, his excitement heading into Split 2. We're going to hit a quick ad, and on the other side, you'll hear from Zachmazer. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have on Zach, aka Zachmazer. He's on the show, fresh off of Cloud9. I believe the brand new team is Team BBB. You wanna give us a quick explanation on what that stands for?
It's bald Britain brows. So like design, everyone makes fun of his huge eyebrows. Chaotic, Brit. And then
Have your
I'm
British
balding.
accent for sure.
Yeah, stick. I meant thick.
And then you said, and then the last one was I didn't hear the last one.
Wait, I don't. It's hard to talk to my mic and look at that at the same time. Like bald. Like I'm balding.
Oh,
And then
okay.
Chaotic's British, so Brit. And then design eyebrows because he's got fucking mammoths on his face. Just small bison.
They are thick. They are
Yeah.
thick for sure.
There we go. Well, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on. How's everything been going with scrims and kind of getting ready for the second split?
Well, we had some good days. We've had some bad days in scrims. Learning is just the most important thing, right? Like when you have a brand new team and a brand new meta from brand new POIs, you're stacking on so many variables in a battle royale that like you're really, really, really destined to fail. To an extent, you're destined to fail, and all those failures are going to be like very, very, very severe, maybe learning experiences because they're going to be like the most dumb, obvious mistakes, and you're like, oh, easy fix, never happens again, right? But when you have that many factors adding up, it's going to happen like pretty often, and then they dwindle down as they happen one time. So that's kind of what's been going on. Our scrum placements went something along the line like 15th, 14th, 4th, and then like 7th. I think that 15th, 14th was just literally the dumbest mistakes, and then we got a 4th. We had a really good day, and then that 7th, we had a great day, but we never capitalized. All right, so that 7th, our highest placement that day was an 11th, but we finished with like 35 points in 7th overall. And had we had any of those games go to end game, we would have probably been like top 5 again.
So when you talk about the scrims not going exactly how you guys plan, does that change the confidence level? Like how's the confidence level going into the next chapter?
Yeah, scrims never go how you plan. You could be the best team in the game. You could win 7 lands in a row and just be dominating everything. Your scrims go to plan how everyone else wants scrims to go. You could wake up one day and you're gonna have 20 squads alive, zone 3, and next day it's gonna be 12 squads alive, zone 1, and that's just a factor that's out of your control and dramatically impacts your game. So I could care less. It definitely, if scrim wavers your confidence going into LGS, you're just not ready to be a pro.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right when it comes to that, and I would love. I mean, I think a lot of people are gonna want to hear and like tune in. Well, we're recording this now on a Sunday, so the scrims that you are going to be fighting Wall against TSM are on Tuesday or Wednesday. Did you say it was Tuesday?
We scrim tomorrow versus the lobby they're not in, and then the next day, whatever that is.
So that'd be Tuesday. So Tuesday, this week has been kind of a little bit of drama, Phil, from all kinds of stuff, but one of them being just how TSM is switching spots, and then they decided to not switch spots, and then obviously the contest scrims and all that sort of stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff behind the scenes that a lot of people aren't seeing, and things can get out of hand and all that sort of stuff. But if you could give maybe our listeners a rundown of what has gone on this week when it involves you guys, FaZe, and TSM.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys some facts. And I promise you on my own life, nobody will tell you these things aren't true. If they tell you they aren't true, they are lying to you. And I can perfectly prove that they're lying to you. So I'm praying to God nobody tries to say that these are lies. Did FaZe scrim TSM in private at Launchpad and get beat? Yes, they got beat really bad. Matter of fact, I had it confirmed. I went to dinner last night with Snipedown. They did actually 8-2 them one day. All these things aren't made up. FaZe did get tipped off that Launchpad was going to be free. So obviously, FaZe dominating TSM at Launchpad was like, yo, we're going Launchpad. Coincidentally, TSM chooses to leave Launchpad within roughly an hour of FaZe announcing that they're leaving Launchpad, right?
You mean FaZe announcing that they're going Launchpad?
Yeah, FaZe going Launchpad. TSM, or Hal in specific, reached out to me, telling me that Launchpad is a free POI and that we should trade Wall for Launchpad. And my teammates said, no, we're going to contest on Wall. And I fought tooth and nail against my teammates and convinced them that we'll go Launchpad under the circumstances that TSM doesn't announce anything. Because if TSM didn't announce anything, the first time they would scrim from Launchpad would be today. The first time we would scrim, or from Wall, would be today. The first time we would scrim would be tomorrow, right? We have ALGS this upcoming weekend. So for teams to make such a dramatic change to like, okay, we're just going to go 50-50 BBB at Launchpad, it's just a little bit more extreme. There's less time to calculate things, right? So that was the importance of it not getting announced, was the lesser time there is till Pro League, the less likely people are just going to throw everything out the window and say, fuck it, we're contesting Launchpad, right? They don't have as much time to practice it, get reps in. It's a little bit more risky. So that was the plan behind that. And I was able to convince my teammates to do that. So at that point in time, it was about midnight. And I said, fuck you, Hal, I'm going to bed. And at that point in time, TSM was going to Wall for free. We were going Launchpad, what we thought was for free as well. I woke up at 7 a.m. and Raven's ego, or Raven's whatever, got the best of him. His carelessness, you could say, I guess. And he just decided that he was going to announce they go Wall, which of course avoided everything that they had with us. So my teammates were like instantly, all right, we're just going to go back and contest them. And I was like, fuck yeah, we're just going to go back and contest them. Like, what is this shit? And then that was it. And then I randomly just joined the Crackhead Bar, which is like a really community server. And I found out all that stuff about FaZe. And I found out some more behind the scenes stuff yesterday from Snipedown. And I can confidently tell you that there was a lot of truths not being told publicly. You could very blatantly say that there was quite some like manipulation in there that was very unfair. And I can confidently tell you, I mean, I'm best friends with all of them. No one can deny. I'm literally best friends with them. I love them to death. But this is, in my opinion, the first time in the history of Apex that TSM has made like a huge, embarrassing mistake. There's definitely some freaky, naughty stuff going on over there. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We definitely really enjoyed our scrimmages from Wall. We liked the POI. The rotates are amazing. Always fighting downhill on edge zones is great. Having priority on super north zones is always nice. One of the things that my teammates are really excited for is this presents a huge opportunity, right? TSM just won a LAN. They've been one of the most pedestal teams in the game for years. If we win the contest, like let's say we 3-0 them in scrims and then we 3-0 them the next day, it's the biggest, it's life-changing. They stream every day their scrims to 30,000 to 40,000 people. If we're beating them, all we're doing is growing. KCP lost like 26-1 in contest versus them. And Nasky gained like 14,000 followers off of it. Like, contesting them if you're winning is great. Contesting them when you're losing is positive for you, believe it or not. So, obviously, with our game plan to win and knowing that TSM, unironically, I was told that certain strats from them for Wall for contesting, like I feel really confident we're going to give it a better run than any other team has. I'm really looking forward to it. They have much higher expectations than we do. We're all 6 of us at the wall now are in very stable financial positions. So like there's no real like strong arming possible here. It's just going to be a contest, and I'm excited to see it. I know we have the entire Apex community behind us because they just want to see TSM taken down. So should be entertaining.
So when you're prepping and you're getting ready for this contest, what does that look like? Because I'm sure the majority of the people who listen to us, they don't know like that, like deep inside the mind of like what all goes into that. And so could you give us a little bit of a breakdown for the more casual person out there who just thinks it's like, oh, you're just 2 teams landing on each other and then you just fight a 3v3?
Well, that's kind of it. I hate to break the bad news to you, but that's kind of it.
I know, but there's got to be certain spots that you are like strategically trying to get to.
Yeah,
that
he's not
going
gonna
to
say it,
on a
though.
podcast. Why would I say that on a podcast? What?
Because this isn't until
Yeah.
after.
This is a TSM podcast, apparently. What the hell?
This will be coming out on Thursday. The plan
I
is
can
to
test them in
wax
LGS
them.
on Sunday.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah.
You don't think they're gonna? So you don't think if you wax them in scrims that they're gonna leave?
Bro, you don't understand.
No, that's also very
For
fair.
the
that
first
you're not
time
gonna be able
ever
to-
in the history of Apex, TSM has messed up, in my opinion. Raven was unexplainably emotional, and I can't believe that nobody has leaked it yet. The things that Raven was saying and doing and how he was acting was the most funny, comical shit I've ever seen in my whole life from someone from TSM. It is what it is, bro. We could 6-0 them, and they wouldn't leave come ALGS Day. I don't think Raven would let them leave. If we had them 60-0, Raven wouldn't let them leave, in my opinion. That's just what I would expect.
So it's like out of spite almost? Like they won't leave just out of spite?
At this point, with how down bad and how many times he's had to backtrack and like cover up some things that have been said, it definitely, yeah, I don't ever see them leaving ever. But like at the same time, we'd be idiots not to defend our
Right.
POI. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you guys are still going thermal on World's Edge, and that POI hasn't been touched since ever. So how do you feel? I mean, you used to go to Climatizer on the C9 days.
Thermal's better than
You-
Climatizer. Thermal's better than Climatizer.
Can
but
you
it's
break
horrible,
it down on why you feel like thermal is better than Climatizer, and kind of how it feels to be on the complete opposite side of the map legitimately? And I mean, it helps to have Tyler, who's been there for literally 3 years. So yeah, I just would love to hear your thoughts on just like thermal and World's Edge and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so Climatizer and Thermal, if you loot the entire POIs, you actually end up being finished looting around the same time, which is like hard to believe because of how much widespread Thermal is. You expect it to not be that. The time ends up like maybe 20 seconds differently. 20 seconds is a lot of time, but when you're playing Edge and you're in your looting phase, 20 seconds is not the end of the world. Some people are spending 20 seconds to go grab an attachment when you're playing Edge. So it's like the looting time is the same. Majority of zones on ALGS days just happen to be south. We've seen like random like days where like Climatizer has like 2-3 zones or like 2-3 skyhook zones, but like Thermal has great rotates to skyhook and like great fighting routes to skyhook, in my opinion. I don't like the Climatizer routes to skyhook. It's typically just the blind balloon into skyhook, or you have to fight through buildings which get thirded because you're on the far side of where the game ends. Those Lava City zones are where like Climatizer and Thermal are both equal. Like they're both hard, but Thermal has a better rotate for them than Climatizer does because Climatizer is always coming either through Siphon or Geyser, and Thermal's always either coming through the high ground of Dome or the Vault Tunnel, which we can portal out of, right? And that's just an easier rotate every day of the week. At the end of the day, we're a much more aggressive team, so talking about the rotate seems a little bit like out of pocket because like we're not rotating very often. We're just looking for fights because that's what our success is going to be from. But I definitely like Thermal more, absolutely, like hands down. My only worry is how other teams interact with Thermal. It can be frustrating, but that's it.
I will say, as like, it's hard to find a Thermal's one of those zones where it's nice that you land there, but it's one of those zones where it's very difficult to find a spot that's like good longevity wise in Thermal. It feels like maybe that's not the case. Maybe you don't view it that way. But I feel like you were saying, sometimes zones and thermal are pretty hard. Yeah. Oh, they're very questionable. That out of more of those POIs, and anything like northeast is pretty rough too. So, but yeah, I'm sure you're learning a lot from Tyler, and
Very
yeah,
fast.
I
Yeah.
would love for you to speak on like playing with Tyler and playing with Chaotic, and what the different team dynamic from maybe your previous ones.
Well, me and Naughty both don't stop talking. You could pay us money to stop talking, and we probably wouldn't shut up. It's unbelievable how much me and Naughty talk. Our teammates on that roster were Rocker, Alb, and Noct. I'm probably forgetting people, but it is what it is. Alb talks a lot. Rocker doesn't talk enough, in my opinion. He's not a pro anymore, but and then Noct rarely talks. And so I kind of got every end of the spectrum on that roster. And then now going over to the boys, Chaotic never talks. Design never talks. Design never talks to the point where like sometimes he's forgetting really important comms to say out loud. Chaotic doesn't have that problem. Chaotic rarely talks, but he always hits the comm points for the most part. Does happen, but so it's definitely a weird environment where like I find myself kind of talking to myself a lot because I'm trying to keep the momentum going. You know, we'll be like mid-team fight. Okay, I'm pushing up to the left. I'm on the left stairs. I'm going up. And both my teammates the whole time, I'm just getting like radio silence because they're both just like really locked in. And that's okay with me. That's just a new dynamic I have to get used to. It's more so just getting Tyler ready to like, you know, be a little bit more active on the comms and feed us a little bit more information with his aggressive plays so we can line up our own as well. But that's about it. It's interesting.
And so you mentioned that you guys are going to be taking a lot of fights, and with that, should we expect to see you with a prowler and a charge rifle the entire season?
Yeah. I don't know if you've been watching the scrims, but every single game I play, I have an R9 or a prowler, and I have a charge rifle. And until those guns get nerfed, that is how I will play.
No, I respect it.
It's out of my control. It's out of my control.
I genuinely, when I was watching you do it, and I've seen the clips that you've been posting on Twitter, I genuinely think that like right now, you are capitalizing on basically all of the advantages that being the M&K player for your team, like that you could be capitalizing on. Like you're playing Seer, and like Seer is just not as good on controller as he is on M&K. You've got the charge rifle, which you're absolutely just. If there's going to be a charge rifle on the team, it better not be in Chaotic or Design. So you're definitely the one who should be having it for those long range. And with a prowler, I genuinely think that that's the better move if you're rocking a charge, simply because if you get like a blue or a purple mag on that thing, the chances that you're going to one clip somebody are just significantly higher than if you have a 9. And so when I was seeing you do that, I was like, I think it's like the perfect loadout for the role that you're playing in the team that you're on.
Yeah, the Prowler definitely has a better mid-range than the 9 does too on M&K. And when I'm playing Charge Rifle, I have to be capable of having a mid-range because there is an awkward range where like if you just have your Charge Rifle out, bro, you're just getting 225 instantly because your feet are in mud when you zoom that thing in. So having that Prowler just gives me like some sort of a mid-range and a really strong close range if I'm capable of being consistent enough with it.
So I kind of wanted to go back a little bit to some of the Cloud9 days, and obviously you guys had some really good tournaments, really awesome placements, and they're really memorable moments for people who have been watching ALGS for a long time. Most notably the second place, and there was, I mean, it probably doesn't feel the greatest because you guys didn't win, obviously, but there was like a cult following of people being like, okay, these guys may not have been holding the trophy, but they deserved it. They had the most points. They were dominating. They were killing everybody. They were running every lobby. Is that like the closest you could get to like a feeling of winning, is just being like, okay, well, we may not have won, but everybody knows that we were the best team in that entire tournament?
I haven't won a LAN yet, so I can't really speak on what that feeling is like, but I've won ALGSs, I've won online tournaments, I've won online ALGS qualifiers, I've won ALGS tournaments that are not LANs. I can confidently tell you that second place with the most points in the lobby felt just as good, arguably maybe even better than like the online just tournament wins or the ALGS qualifier day wins, because knowing that you played the best Apex in the entire world on that day is a very valuable feeling. You may not have won, but it's undeniable that North America is the best region in the world. And if you had the most points in that lobby and lost to some match point cheese, it's undeniable that you played the best Apex in the world on that day. And that's a very like rejoicing feeling. You may not win, but you're still bagging 50, 60, 70 grand individually, and it yeah, like I made 56 grand for that second place, right? Because I got the MVP as well, so it boosted me like another 7K. And yeah, you're right, we did not win, but it felt really, really, really good.
But that also put you guys on the map a little bit. What was the aftermath of that entire tournament like, just as far as your Twitch, as far as, your socials, all that type of stuff, and kind of getting you in a spot where not only are you competing, but now you have like a core following of people who just like watching your content?
So I had like a pretty decent following prior to it, but yeah, that definitely boosted everything quite a bit, and it was nice. It was reassurance, man. Like winning that really put me on the map as like, yes, like he may not be as consistent, but he is capable. Like I'm not going to go win every single tournament, but I will put up days where I drop 90 points, 105 points, whatever, right? I don't necessarily, I've never played a playstyle that's consistent like that. TSM playing from Fragment, playing from Lava Siphon, they have a very consistent playstyle. They do the same thing quite often on similar zones, and it works, and good for them. Their systems are great, right? But coming in from Climatizer or coming in from Thermal, man, I'm fighting for my life every game 30 minutes in the fucking past, bro. So it's definitely a different approach to the game than what the more consistent teams typically play. And it's really hard to be consistent. To be consistent playing like hard edge is really difficult. And I definitely haven't mastered it, but getting better.
I kind of want to go back to your. Well, I instantly think of the first times that I ever heard of Zachmazer was FlyQuest, and you're playing with Monsoon and Lou. Man, there were some memorable moments on that team for sure. But I would love for our listeners to be able to hear kind of your past when it comes to gaming and how you got into it, and maybe get into some of your esports stuff even prior to just Apex Legends. But I would love for you to kind of tell your story a little bit.
All right, so I was a sports star, not an esports star. I was a AAA hockey lord. Infinitely better at sports than I've ever been Apex, even at my prime in Apex or whatever prime will come in Apex. I was better at hockey than that, no matter what, like significantly. I was absolutely projected to be already in the NHL if I didn't mess it all up. I made some bad choices, got in some trouble, sent everything down the fucking pooch, right? So that goes south, end up doing a bunch of bullshit. I go to college. I go to college because I wanted to become a doctor, got in biomed science, failed out of that instantly. Every day I was just playing Fortnite, just getting ripped, just having fun. And that was that. And while I was playing Fortnite, I just randomly met the talent scout from SKTT1 at the time. He was like, he tipped me off. He was like, yo, you're pretty decent at Fortnite, but you're late to the scene. I just started playing Fortnite like in college. So I was years late at that time. And it was like, yo, play this game Apex. It's brand new. If you're really good at it, you'll have a shot. I was like, okay. So I just load up Apex, and the rest is history. I end up joining FlyQuest. That roster was absolutely insane. Arguably the best roster in the world, or second best roster in the world, definitely at that point in time. That went down the hill because of financial problems with FlyQuest. That was really sad to hear. Monsoon was battling some financial issues and had to say yes to Complexity's offer and leave us, which how that kind of went down. Next, I played with No Cocoa Puffs and Knocked. and that was probably one of the most embarrassing experiences in my life. That roster was just absolutely horrible. We were literally watched just so people could clown us, and that's just disgusting in a competitive environment. If you're just an absolute clown and you have no chance of success, you got to find something else to do. Then I played with Inhumed and Naughty, and that roster was similar in the sense of like we only knew how to fight. We didn't really have anything going for us other than fighting, but we were really good, and Inhumed was really good. But they announced that lands are coming to Apex, and at the time, Inhumed had lung problems and couldn't risk getting COVID, so he had to retire. We had to find a new teammate. That's when we picked up Noct. We actually picked up Noct about 8 hours before the lock-in. We literally had no idea who we were going to play with. We were just picking people from Twitter like out of a fucking hat at that point. We picked up Noct, and like just like overnight, it just like randomly worked. Yeah, it was really, really, really good with Noct. I was just bitching more than I should have been. I look back at it and I regret a lot of things about the Noct roster. I extremely regret the roster change, knowing what my future held, right? Everything was hindsight, so it is what it is, but definitely regret all that. Definitely a lot to learn from it. Next thing you know, we teamed with Alb, and that was a bad experience. Alb had promised me that he was this pretty good IGL that would need some practice to like get to like top form. I promised him that I was going to let him IGL and play Gibby and take a back seat. Well, his IGLing wasn't at the level that I expected or PvP or Naughty expected at the time, and I wasn't capable of just staying in that back seat while letting him learn from a lower level than I had expected. So roles flipped, shit happened. It was just miserable. I don't think either of us had a good time on that roster. I tried to move on at one point. That got blocked by PvPX. Then at another point, we tried to move on. That got blocked by me and Naughty because it was bad timing. And then finally, when it was obviously the first time I tried to drop him was probably like 8 months before we actually made a roster change. The next time that we tried to drop him, because like one time I said no, one time PvP said no. One time was it like 8 months before, one time was it like 4 months before, and then we finally made that roster change, and we went with Rocker, which was interesting. I love Rocker. It just didn't work out. We tried to play early rotate from Bean, and we've played Edge for 3 years, so with no info on how to play early rotate, we kind of biffed it, man. We had a lot of really dumb mistakes that were super tilting. Kind of just chalked it out the window. It was a really sad way to go out, and it is what it is. But Rocker's doing great. Naughty's got his new team. I got my own. We all moved on in positive directions. So I'm happy. That's where we're at. Now we're here.
But so you had said that when you had joined up with Lou and Monsoon, that you guys were top 2 team in Apex, and that was your first competitive Apex Legends roster. And so what did you do and how did you go about getting yourself in that position as somebody who was good at Fortnite and then was taking Apex as like your chance to get into esports? How did you maneuver that change and find the people that you ended up becoming one of the best in the world with?
So at that point in time in Apex, it was Lou was getting reported by every pro player ever. Everyone thought Lou was cheating at that point in time. And at that point in time, Monsoon was undeniably, arguably, the second best player in the world next to Hal. Monsoon was held so high. And when I'm put up with a guy that's being reported by everyone named Lou, who's just at the time mechanically the best player, and so in Monsoon, who's the second best player in the world at the time, and then I'm coming in, the truth is, when I first joined that roster, I was extremely bad. I was new to Apex. And you got to remember, I had never played a competitive game prior to this. I'm not some like H1Z1 nerd who's been pro for 8 years. I don't have any background. I was horrible. But I was surrounded by people that were so good that every single time I played a shitty scrim block with them or a shitty tournament or anything with them, I was just like, bro, I was getting so much better so fast because I was learning from the exact top. It'd be like taking a tier 2 player and then throwing him on a team with like Hal and Sweet, and then being like, how do you IGL 7 months later? You just grow so fast being around people better than you. And I was in that exact environment. So I grew really fast, and I was molded into what they needed at that point in time. So we really clicked really well. And had FlyQuest not had those financial troubles, that roster would have had a lot of success in that near future. Absolutely.
And so how did you first end up in that position? Like going
Luck.
Just luck?
Pure luck.
Can you get into that a little bit more?
The org knew that they wanted Lou and Monsoon. They couldn't find a third. All the other thirds that they wanted had buyouts that were massive. I was a Discord moderator at the time who knew the talent scout and was just like, yo. And he was like, all right. And that, I know that sounds hard to believe. That's actually how it went. I was a Discord moderator. Their talent scout, his name was Convertible. I was like, yo. He was like, yeah, our options aren't great. Sure. Yeah. That's actually how it went down.
I feel like that's something that nobody expected to hear. And so that's awesome that you're able to share that. Yeah, I have something.
Go.
All right. So can you describe for everybody what a Mazer moment is? Because not too many players out there have basically like their own like the Mazer moment, like their own thing that like people like will say, like when somebody does something, they'll be like, oh, that was a Mazer moment. Can you break down for us what that is?
So a Mazer moment is just simply something that nobody else would be capable of other than me. So if you say Mazer moment over your own play, it just better be something that nobody else is capable of doing other than you. So like that 1v3 in the tree line, that was arguably a Mazer moment. I don't think there's many players in that situation that would have won that 1v3. I had to do 180 to one guy, 170 to the other guy, and 225 to the other guy. And I had like 4 mags of Prowler to do it. Right? And then Ash porting into zone 7. Not many motherfuckers pulling that off.
Dude.
Not many motherfuckers pulling that off, bro.
So the good and the bad.
It's the good and the bad, but it's something that only you could do and nobody else can do. That is a Mazer moment.
Gotcha.
That's beautiful, man. It is. No, it really is, because I think some people may be just like using it as like, oh, they made a mistake. It's like, well, no, that's not quite a Mazer moment, right? Like there's certain specific stuff. Yeah, right. So we just implemented this segment last interview, and I would love to implement it for this one. It's called Double Tap. So I'm going to say 5 rapid statements to you, and then you say one word to describe that statement. Are you ready?
All right. Yeah.
All right. Number 1, G7 Scout.
Ass.
Seer.
Miserable.
Broken Moon.
Promising.
Rank system.
You can't describe that in one word. Listen. I play test and I do all that jazz, bro, and I can confidently tell you that internally, externally, casuals, PS4, Xbox, PC, Steam, Origin, everybody is on the same page. That shit blows dick, bro. It's unexplainably bad. And absolutely embarrassing that it's in the state that it's in right now. And I'm hoping for good things in the future. It's bad.
And then number 5, Pro League Split 2.
Excited. Oh, wait, was Split 2 the past one?
No, this upcoming
one.
Oh, yeah. Excited.
Yeah.
So you mentioned hockey a little bit. I actually came from hockey. I love hearing that's where you were coming from. I wanted to ask if there's anything you took from playing in all your playing years that you could apply to where you are now with how you compete and different stuff like that.
I'm disgustingly competitive. I grew up playing hockey since I like the first pictures that I own of me as like a baby are actually me on like a frozen like pond that just formed in our backyard that my dad just threw on hockey skates on me and was like, let's see, and I just grew up in that environment and I was unexplainably good at hockey. So I just grew up so competitive because I wanted to win. Like if I show up to like my like high school game or like my normal team that wasn't like a high level, and I didn't get like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goals in a game, it was like a major disappointment. Like we were going to win the game. It wasn't a question of that. It was just like, how many goals was I going to score? And if I wasn't hitting like 3, 4, sometimes it felt like really disappointing, even if we'd win like 5-2, whatever. Yeah, I just grew up unexplainably competitive because of that, and my dad pushing hockey on me so hard, and like failing wasn't an option, this and that all fueled into me just getting into gaming and just kind of having this like really energetic, like livid, overly competitive personality.
All right. So we got BBB coming out as a team in Pro League Split 2. Why do you think that you guys are going to be as successful as you think you do? And why, for all of those listening out there, why should they want to support you guys as a team and see you guys do well over all of the other teams that they could have to choose to root for?
Well, first off, I think lying is a bad thing. So first off, I'll say I'm not sitting here and acting like BBB is fully ready to win a LAN. But I'll confidently tell you that where we are right now is an absolute prime position to qualify for a LAN. And in the time that it takes to qualify for a LAN, we could build into a team that absolutely wins a LAN. We have 3 players that are absolutely, undeniably momentum based, right? So if we build up any, it's just a train flying through everyone, right? I'm really excited for the roster. I think its only downfalls are very obvious downfalls. I mean, the red flags that the casuals are saying, the red flags that the pros are saying, and the red flags that we're saying about our own roster are all the same red flag, which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing, because that means it's really easily identifiable. And if you can do your absolute best to avoid them, then you have your highest chance of success. So, I mean, me and design being mature in arguments and disagreements is one of those things that, like, if we're able to cross that bridge and really develop in that direction, we could find a lot of success. If we can start winning our edge fights more consistently and build up that momentum into that end game, we are going to be an unstoppable force. Like, we're going to have those 15, 20 kill wins that everyone loves to see, right? Why should people root for us? So, I mean, we're going to be, without a doubt, one of the most entertaining rosters. I'd say our team and then Lanimals are going to be the 2 most entertaining rosters this upcoming split. Lanimals, I mean, and our team have a similar dynamic in the sense of all 3 people at any moment are extremely explosive. And there will be disagreements, and there will be arguments, and there will be pop-offs. And all of those things are entertaining.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. There's a lot of big personalities and a lot of opinions of, just because you guys have all been experienced. Like, you guys have been playing Apex. I think the only exception you could probably say is Chaotic, but even then, he's got quite a bit of experience, right? But
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like this team knows how to win. You've been there before, and so ooh.
What's up?
And so the only thing really is just y'all working through those kinks and like knowing that that's your weakness, and like how you approach things, knowing something is your weakness is like very critical in how you do that. So I'm pretty excited to hear that. So we just got done, you and I, just before this, we just got done playing some Call of Duty, and we played some ranked ranked league, and it's just came out not too long ago. It's been really fun. And I think like you mentioned, you're a very competitive person, and how you already have a Smurf account. You have like 3 different Smurf accounts. So you're grinding this game right now. What is something, maybe another game where you can say maybe Call of Duty, what is something that we can take from another video game and maybe implement it into Apex from your opinion?
This is such a good question. And you couldn't have made it any fucking easier. Design is actually the one who's answering your question, not me. And he said, I don't give a fuck if Zach's playing COD because it's no different than Apex. He's sitting there being the only mouse and keyboard player versus a bunch of controller players. And if he doesn't play it perfectly every time, he's going to die. So I sit there on COD, whether I'm playing 10 hours or 2 hours of COD. If I don't play it perfectly, if I don't play smarter, I'm chalking it, bro. So That's one thing that I get to take from other games and bring into Apex is like, yeah, I'm getting dumpstered by rollers on other games, and I really have to adapt my gameplay and play perfectly. And yeah, it sounds like a joke, but it actually is true coming from COD to Apex. And then other games, like Valorant and whatnot. Valorant, you could say Valorant in the sense of like you really set up like your takes on sites, right? Like, oh, smoke this, smoke that, dart this, drone this, volley that off, whatever, right? Similar to Apex, man. If you're pushing a team, all right, we're gonna catwall this, we're gonna serial this, we got to nade off this head glitch, and then we're gonna slide into their fucking face. You know what I mean? Shit like that. There's a lot of things that can apply into Apex, but transitioning it is never easy.
Great answer.
So you mentioned that as an MNK player fighting against roller players, you basically have to play it perfect. What are the things that are going through your head, and what would be advice that you could give to MNK players who are out there trying to compete in Apex? What would your best piece of advice for them when going up against a largely roller player base?
Well, at the pro level, I don't think it's possible anymore. But anything below pro level, so like tier 2 or ranked or whatnot, it's all positioning based. If you can get a controller player to take a really, really, really uncomfortable chow on you, that's where you're getting your best chance. So like in staircases and shit like that, where like it doesn't matter your input, everyone's hitting every bullet. Shit like that is where you really have your best opportunity. But no, at a pro level, I don't think it's possible anymore outside of very rare things like Capra, for example, right? Like you have to be like Nathan level MNK mechanically to get into the pro scene nowadays on MNK, because you are simply just not as valuable as the consistency that an even mediocre controller player can offer. Now, comms and team play, and there's a lot that goes into it, but those things can be built, right? Not a lot of MNK players and stuff can just swap inputs like Hal or maybe like Lou or Alb can, right? Not a lot of people can do that.
Do you have another
Yeah,
one?
I got mine.
No, I figured that final, of course.
Yes. So one of the questions that I always like to ask everybody who comes on the pod is, what is one thing that what's one piece of advice that you could give to someone who wants to reach the top 1% in whatever the thing is that they're passionate about? Because you're somebody, you've done it in hockey, you're doing it here in Apex, you're doing it on socials. And so you are very clearly somebody who's reached that 1% in multiple different areas. What is one piece of advice that you could give for anybody doing anything?
You have to be driven, and I know this is going to sound backward, but you have to be stubborn. You have to be stubborn, and you have to be driven. People are going to say consistency is the answer, and consistency is a good answer. But when you're a super driven person and you feel like nothing can get in front of you if you want it, right? That's something that gets you to those places, right? That competitive drive, just pushing, right? And I think being driven is very, very, very underrated. And then the stubborn, I definitely have to explain, because a lot of people won't understand that. But being stubborn is a valuable thing, but it has to come with maturity. If you aren't capable of being mature and stubborn at the same time, it won't work. But being stubborn is important, because when you feel like you're right, or you feel like you really want something more than anything else in the world, you gotta be stubborn about it, because people are gonna put you down. You're gonna put yourself down in your bad moments. Bad moments are gonna happen, but you have to be shitty enough and stubborn enough. Man, fuck you. I'm right, shit like that. And when you're wrong, being mature enough to be like, hey, my bad, dog. You were right. I was wrong. That's that. But I think being stubborn and mature is a very valuable combo that can like progress things super far individually. In a team environment, it can be detrimental, but individually, it can be very valuable when you're on your way up.
All right. Well, Zach, thanks for hopping on the show. We really appreciate it. And you said the only thing that you haven't won yet is a LAN. So hopefully the next time we have you on, you have that in your belt. Thanks for hopping on. It was a pleasure.
Peace, guys. It was really nice talking to you guys.
All right. There we are, ladies and gents. Once again, shout out to Zachmazer for hopping on the show. We appreciate his time. We appreciate him hopping on. Can't wait to watch him here in the future. And I know he's going to have his eyes on him look and see if his pick comes true. Once again, shout out Zachmazer. Finn, you wanted to do a quick little breakdown of some of the other regions. You know, we did a lot on NA, and we're not always like as close with all of the other regions, but you have done like a little bit of due diligence to see and check in on some of the other teams around the different leagues that other people, if they want to not just watch NA, if they want to expand their horizons into different areas of ALGS, you have a quick little preview for all the teams that they should be watching in those other regions. Let's throw it on down to you.
Okay. Well, I think you got to say going into this, we're talking about specifically EMEA right now, but I'll give you a top 5. I think Ascend's got to be number 1. Yes, they were number 2 in the split last year or last split, behind Aurora, but Ascend proved it at LAN that they can showcase. They have a lot of talent on that roster, so I'm going to put them at number 1. I think you could throw in Aurora. I know they weren't at LAN, but now that they got their visas, going to be able to. So I got to think they are going to be number 2 going into split 2. Very interested to see what happens with them. And then I'll go number 3, Alliance, of course. Then I'll go number 4, E6. I think that team is just going to be really good. Kay Sweeney, I think he said that he was moving to Roller, which is like a lot of people are moving over to Roller right now. So I think E6 has a pretty good potential of doing very, very well. And then I think for my 5th pick, I'll throw KCP in. I know it'll make Enoch happy, but I've given it some thought, and I really do think the Zane pickup actually is quite a bit big. I knew it was big. It wasn't that I wasn't saying that it wasn't big. It's just like I think he actually does provide a little bit more to that team that they really did need, like as terms of firepower. Not saying that Max Strafe wasn't that good of a firepower, because obviously he's very, very good and mechanical, strong player, but having a roller, we talk about all the time, the consistency of damage. So having somebody like Zane, who looks like he has an aimbot, but we know he doesn't because we watched it on LAN, so he's not a cheater, obviously a beast. So we'll have him, and I'll say that is my top 5. I think my surprise pick that I hope they do well. I love Tyler to death, but I think that Bex team got to have some changes for sure. I hope that they do well. But yeah, I'll put my money down on Aurora actually, and I hope that they end up doing very well in the split so that they can finally go to LAN as a team and showcase their ability. I said that all the time, but I really do. I'll go with South America. This one's super easy. Team Singularity. There's not really another team that's actually close to their level. Good, congratulations to them because they actually made it to finals, and that was a big thing for South American teams not being able to make it to a finals lobby at LAN specifically. And so having a team like Team Singularity going and representing that whole region and doing well, I wouldn't be surprised to once again see them take South America. Next, we'll move to APAC North. A few teams, of course, you got to talk Fnatic. I think you got to talk Fun 123, and then Dragon Force. I think those 3 teams are my look at teams. I think you could say Crazy Raccoons as well. Hopefully that they make it to LAN, but once again, that team has some sort of, I don't know, monkey on their shoulder to be able to make it to a finals similar to the Singularity team. So I hope to see them have success, but that is my guess for Pro League. Let me think. APAC South, I think there's only 2 teams that really stand out in my mind, and that's that Onyx roster and that MST, aka Moist Boys, aka Waltzy in the crew. I hope that they end up doing really well for that, but that is my guess going into that. I guess my sleeper pick for EMEA, sorry, I'm going back to EMEA, but I'm going to throw in Fire Beavers, which I think is a really solid team that I think has potential to actually make it maybe top 3 in EMEA as well. But that's going into split 1. That's all other regions that I can think of and that I have knowledge of and have watched a bit of their scrims and stuff. So yeah, that's my preview, I guess, from everything.
Do you have anything to add to that, Enoch, or just move into heart to heart?
I'm excited to see the KCP boys. I think it'll be good. Yeah, I think Aurora, Alliance, Fire Beavers, KCP, and then I think E6 could have a really strong season. For me, I'm not the biggest EU Andy. I don't know a ton of it, but I would say that those are my picks for who I think are going to have really good seasons.
There we go. There we go. And once again, we'll be trying to keep a closer eye on all the different regions this time around, because first time around it was new. The podcast was brand new. So we're going to be trying to get more previews and probably have some people on the show, like some interviews that we can bring more light to some of these regions, so we can get more of that exposure out there to other good players and good teams who are putting in that work. And notably, last season we had Waltzy on, and he was a baller. He was a baller. He put his name on the map, definitely, if he hadn't had it on there already. So we're going to be having some more representation from all these different regions in the upcoming interviews, episodes, all that. Thank you guys for tuning in. I almost ended the show. We still got to do the heart to heart here. What am I doing? Ladies and gents, let's send it on down to the heart to heart, and then we'll send you on your way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Does anybody want to go first? You're muted, Finn. You're mad muted. That's
I feel
two
like
times tonight.
Yeah, I know.
That's two
sorry.
times.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. Enoch's usually the one that we have to worry about for the
usually
mute,
it's Enoch, but
it's me tonight. I got to talk about the dog, of course, my corgi. I mentioned to y'all before off air that I was like a little nervous about this dog because it's like, it's a big responsibility having a dog, and I just I want it to be a well trained dog, and like I don't know. I guess I'm just nervous about that. It's so young and it's so small. I mean, dude, it's literally a foot long, bro. It's literally a Subway sandwich. Like that's how big this dog is. So she's super young, but anyway, I guess my heart to heart is like, I know it's nothing like actually having a human child, but it feels a little bit like that in a way, responsibility wise. And so I just I'm nervous about that. So if that's really the truth, is just Mike from my heart, I'm a little nervous about this dog, but I know that the biggest thing is I know that I care, and I know that I'm going to be able to provide it a good home and like with love. And so I think from that you can build off a lot. So I guess that's my heart to heart is that, and the continual journey of being a dog dad. So that's my heart to heart.
there you go. There you go. Georgia is in good hands. Enoch, your heart to heart.
My heart to heart is basically just something that I've already talked about, just something that I need to be doing a more conscious job of, just being more grateful and just having more gratitude for where I'm at, everything that I got going on, and just realizing that most of my problems only exist in my head, and it's pretty much all mental, and that my life, like I'm so close to getting to the point where I'm just like big vibing all the time, no matter how silly the external stuff is. And like once I like crack that code and like flip that switch, like things are about to be like so nice. And it's something that I have to constantly work at and be mindful of like 24/7. And because like throughout your entire day, you get faced with external shit that like makes you want to get mad and shit, and like stuff that like is just annoying. And so I've been getting a lot of practice at dealing with that through playing the good old Apex Legends ranked. That gives me lots of opportunities to work on not getting mad. And I just need to be thankful for all of them, be grateful that I get to do it in front of the audience that I get to do it in front of, and that I get to be the example that I get to be, and hopefully have the impact that I'm hoping to have. And I know that the platform that I have is only going to get bigger the more, like, the closer to the version of myself I know I'm capable of becoming, that everything else will fall into place, because I'll be somebody who's like worthy of having that kind of audience and influence, and hopefully positive impact on others. And I just need to enjoy the whole process.
Perfect. Yeah.
What about
Gratitude.
you? What's your heart to heart?
I don't know, man. I don't think I really have one this week. I think I've just been kind of locked into just, the show and edits and doing different stuff like that. So I haven't really sat down and like thought about how I'm feeling. I just know I'm not feeling bad, which I think is a positive. I think that's like always good no matter what. Like I feel like my mental's in a good place. Obviously circumstances could always be better and like you could always be in a different spot, a better spot, but I'm not feeling any which way about where I'm at right now. I'm feeling good, staying positive. I'm keeping moving, and yeah, I don't think I really have one. The only thing really going on other than this is like playoffs are coming up for the NHL, and so I'm watching my team closely, and that's always a good distraction to have. It's nice to have meaningful hockey games being played while I'm editing the show or something. Um, so that's always cool. And yeah, I don't really have one this week. I'm feeling good. I think I'm just feeling like I think I've heard this from a lot of people. It's like a lot of people say I just want to be happy in life, and I think that happiness is actually like it's like an extreme. You have sadness on one side, you have happiness on the other side, right? I think I'm right there in the middle. I'm just content. I think what you really aim for in life is not really happiness. It's more just contentment and being okay with what has gone on around you and your circumstances and being able to, whether you're in the right spot or not, being able to be like, okay, I can get better from here, but I'm content with where I'm at. I'm happy with, the people surrounding me, the things surrounding me. I think I'm just content right now. I'm feeling good. So no real heart to heart this week. Just keeping it moving, feeling good, moving different than everybody else, and that's how I'm going to keep doing things. So there we go. All right, well, ladies and gents, Finn looks like he has vacated the show. The dog, I
Man, we
see the
got a little
dog walking.
You see the
Yeah, I
dog.
see the dog
That
walking
man is
around in the
day
background.
one already got the doggy fence up to make sure that he
Yeah,
doesn't get in here.
yeah, and he was all worried too. He was all worried, but look at he's prepared. That's all you need, Finn. You're prepared. You're
I
already
missed
back
it.
there.
I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't. I
No,
missed
I
it.
was
I don't
just
know what you
saying.
were
We know.
I was saying day one. I was like, Finn has vacated the show to take care of some dog duties, but he is back now. I was just rounding out the show, but yeah, already back there. Doggy
The
gate
doggy
already
door
going.
is up. Yes,
It's
sir.
already there. Ladies and gents, once again, shout out to Zachmazer for hopping on the show, and thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we cannot wait. Pro League begins on Saturday and Sunday, and we are back, baby. It is time to get it going. We cannot wait to tune into all these games. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode. And don't forget, if you want to keep up with all of the latest in the Apex the podcast, you can click the link down in the bio, and make sure you go check us out on YouTube, because YouTube, there's a lot of cool stuff going on over there. We just put up our first official interview with TSM Imperial How on YouTube, and we love the outpouring of support from there. We've got a lot of like really cool comments from all you guys. Thank you guys for that. This should be up there on YouTube as well. If you if maybe you like to listen at work and you can't always pull out your phone and watch a video, but maybe you want to go home and see how we interact just like on the screen. Perfect. Do it. Go check us out on YouTube. Thank you guys as always. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex the podcast. See you.